now available in paperback. From the author of the critically acclaimed book The Man Crisis comes The Woman Crisis. Learn why so many women have become lost in their quest to have it all in The Woman Crisis. Get your copy of The Woman Crisis in paperback at Amazon.com and online booksellers today. My viewers wanted me to do a critical analysis of cult leader Jim Jones for my Beta Males in History series. Now, after reading about the background of cult leader Jim Jones, who led a mass suicide that led to the deaths of himself and over 900 followers of his People's Church in Jonestown, Guyana, I can clearly see that he definitely fits the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis. Now, your Jim Jones was born to a father who had severe respiratory issues after encountering a chemical attack in World War I, and a mother who had no maternal instincts. And due to the dysfunctional way he was raised in that home, by actually not being raised at all, he was going to become a beta male from day one. Now, because of the father's inability to go out here and be able to work all the time, due to his breathing issues, the family led into financial difficulties. And in 1934, during the Depression, the family was evicted from their home because they couldn't make mortgage payments, and relatives bought them a shack in a town called Lynn. And there, the Joneses grew up without plumbing or electricity, and no way to really earn any income through farming because the father's health was bad. So what happened with Jim Jones is, again, he really didn't get any sort of nurturing, and he grew up with this detached mother who taught him to be completely disconnected. And because he was disconnected, he didn't really live in the real world. He lived in a rose-colored world where everything was completely distorted. Now, this rose-colored reality that Jim Jones was living in was further distorted when he was given a Bible by a woman who was the wife of a pastor. And once this wife of a pastor gave him a Bible, what Jim Jones did was take the Bible, and he did not go out here and look to follow the teachings of the Most High God. No, he went out here and distorted them to fit his view of reality. And this was a big problem that plagued Jim Jones all throughout his life, is that he took religion and completely distorted it to fit it into his rose-colored reality. And as he took religion to fit into his rose-colored reality, he then went out here preaching his own gospel, not the gospel of the Bible as related to what the Most High was presenting in his word. No, what your Jim Jones did was look to try to go out here and manipulate the word of God, and he looked to go out here and manipulate the word of God, and what he did was look out to go out here and use it to build a base, which he did in the black community, because your Jim Jones, he was out here talking about how he was trying to be tolerant of black people. And what was scary was that your Jim Jones sadly wound up misleading a large black population, because most of the people who lost their lives in Jonestown were black Americans and black people from Guyana. That is the scariest part about your Jim Jones. As a pastor, he was misleading people with religion. And what's even worse is that he tried to mix religion with the politics of communism, two ideologies that are actually diametrically opposed from each other. But in order to go out here and create his smooth world, he fused these two concepts together to create his own ideology as related to his People's Church. Now, his People's Church got its foundations as related to throughout his whole career at different churches. I mean, he was a part of different movements as related to different churches, and he just took elements from those different churches and their ideas about God and fused them together to create his own religion. And eventually, at a certain point, he started to believe that he himself was God. And as he started to believe he himself was God, he was out here looking to create his what they called a rainbow family, which he adopted several children. And then he wanted to relocate his people's temple because he had thought that he had these delusions as related to a nuclear attack devastating America, Indianapolis. But I believe basically he wanted to go out here and leave America because he feared that there would be an investigation into his behavior, because at around that time J. Edgar Hoover was still around, and the FBI definitely would have possibly investigated your Jim Jones as related to him out here leading, and I believe misleading, black people. And because he was misleading black people, and he didn't want anybody coming after him, so what he did was look to go out here and relocate his church from Indianapolis. And then later on, he wanted to relocate his church further, talking about apostolic socialism. Now again, your socialism and communism are diametrically opposed to what Christianity, and they are diametrically opposed because, again, your communists and your socialists do not believe in God, but somehow your Jim Jones managed to convince a large population to go along with his socialist movements and his communist worldview. And he was looking to go out here and create a commune where his followers could go out and live under his authority. So that's what he was looking to do. But as he was doing this, he was going out here and becoming more paranoid about people coming after him, becoming more paranoid as he was taking more drugs. Again, his behaviors run counter to what was presented in the Bible, but sadly, none of the people out here were thinking critically about what he was saying in his message, because many people, especially a lot of black people, they were just caught up in the idea of this white man going out here and preaching about tolerance and integration and being accepted by a white person. And that is something most people in the media don't really talk about how your Jim Jones basically was misleading black people, and how this beta male he was out here looking to mislead these black people, and he misled these black people and led to many going out here and going to Guyana, and he was out here abusing people as he was doing this. Now, there were investigations on your Jim Jones as related to the abuse at his commune, and in 1978, a congressman came down to Guyana to find out what was going on at Jonestown. And as they went to this Jonestown to find out what was going on, followers of your Jim Jones wound up murdering this congressman, Leo Ryan, and a couple of other people who were a part of the fact-finding mission to find out about the human rights abuses that were taking place at Jonestown. And that's when the beta male Jim Jones went from trying to navigate the rough world that he was creating out of his smooth world of his commune, and went out here and led to the mass suicide that was going on. Now, the reason for the mass suicide, as your Jim Jones wanted to allege, was to go out here and make a statement about communism. But I believe the real reason for your Jim Jones going out here and participating in what he called the revolutionary suicide that led to the deaths of over 900 people, mostly black people, was because your Jim Jones rose-colored reality was shattered by that fact-finding mission. And as that fact-finding mission wound up with this congressman losing his life and several other people losing their lives, what happened was he feared that the army was going to come in and come after him. And because he feared that the army was going to come after him, this is why he wound up participating in this mass suicide of all of his followers, because he didn't want his smooth world to be completely disrupted, and he did not want to confront the truth about the abuses that he participated in of people, and he did not want to go out here and deal with all of the issues as related to conflict, because one of the big problems I see with Jim Jones as a beta male is that he tried to distort reality to fit his own thing, and that's what a lot of beta males like to do. And also, beta males don't like conflict, so he saw conflict coming up, and to avoid dealing with the conflict, what he did was go out here and poison all of those members of Jonestown, or persuade them to kill themselves, because he didn't want anybody around to tell the truth about him. So what he wanted to do in order to keep his smooth world was he was looking to go out here and end his life and end the lives of all of those around him. And he was looking to end all of their lives because he didn't want to deal with the fact that his whole ideology had been falling apart, and that the fact that his reality as related to this rose-colored world that he had created called Jonestown was falling completely apart, all due not to people on the outside, but actually due to his own dysfunctional behavior. Because the beta male oftentimes is his own worst enemy, and in a lot of cases, many of your beta males, they live in fear, and it's their fears that often overwhelm them and make them into their own worst enemies. And that's what happened here with your Jim Jones. He basically became his own worst enemy, and he became his own worst enemy because he could not go out here and deal with reality. Now, this is why he went out here and, again, wanted to go out here and get away from his problems as related to his ideal that he set up with his commune. He went out here and persuaded all of his followers to go out here and drink cyanide-laced Flavor Aid, not Kool-Aid. And as they were drinking this off-brand beverage that had been poisoned, many of the followers thought they were going out here and participating in a revolutionary suicide to go out here and make a political statement. But there was no political statement. No, this was just a coward who refused to go out here and deal with governments. And because he didn't want to deal with the conflict as related to those governments, what he did was go out here and manipulate people into believing, oh, we're going to go out here and participate in a revolutionary suicide, when it was just, he was just afraid of dealing with things. Now, what's really interesting is that while your Jim Jones persuaded all of these people, predominantly black people, to go out here and drink this poison Flavor Aid, he shot himself in the head as he was watching all of these people die and recording it in what he called the People's Temple death tape. Again, trying to make it look like he was making a statement, but the real statement was that he was a coward, and he was a coward because he really did not have any faith in the Most High. No, he was creating a religion because he was afraid to submit to the Most High as a steward, and because he didn't want to take responsibility as a steward. What your Jim Jones did was go out here and look like he was going to make this mass suicide for a political reason, but he was actually making a statement as related to him not really believing in God. No, he was looking for people to manipulate and use. And what I found to be quite troubling as I was doing my research was a large majority of the people who wound up losing their lives were black. And again, this man came into the black community, exploited the black community, and he misled black people, because a lot of black people, they got spellbound and saw Jim Jones' white skin. And as they saw Jim Jones' white skin, and they created a covert contract with themselves where they thought they would gain white acceptance, but all that quest for white acceptance put them was on a road to death, because they were not following the Most High God as related to this so-called religion. No, they were following a devil, and that devil was taking all of those black people straight to hell. And that is, again, one of the most troubling things I saw about the whole Jonestown as I was doing my research. Again, this man, he showed me that he had a lot of dysfunction. I mean, his message was completely erratic, and sadly, many people couldn't see where things were going because they were caught up in their feelings and caught up in their quest to gain acceptance from a white man. And because they couldn't see where this was going, they wound up falling for a ideology that basically led to their death. I mean, when I look at Jim Jones and his cult, again, it's troubling to me that people were misled. But as somebody who has studied cults, I saw the same behavior with many black men with Kevin Samuels. And again, recently with this YouTuber they call Pearly. And what's troubling is that you have black people who are getting misled by an individual like this because they don't have the self-esteem or the self-worth to go out here and stand up for themselves. And that's what the scary part about guys like Jim Jones are. Many people don't really connect the dots as related to how their arguments are diametrically opposed to each other. I mean, a socialist and a communist do not believe in God, but this guy, he created his own religion where he made himself a god using Christianity and to manipulate black people. And then as they were worshiping this white man, they wound up worshiping a guy who led them to their death. And again, just really troubling to me as related to this Jim Jones, who was a man who was a mess. And this, because this man was a man in crisis, this man in crisis misled over 900 people to lose their lives. Now, this was a video requested by one of my viewers, and if you want to request a video, you can donate $15 or more to the Cash App, and if I know something about that subject, I will make that video for you. And if you want to learn more about why beta males are extremely dysfunctional and how they become dysfunctional to the point where they put people's lives in jeopardy, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis on other online booksellers like Smashwords, Barnes & Noble, and Google Play. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle, Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Learn how to avoid predatory females like Instagram models and e-girls in their virtual con games with Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Get your copy of Stop Simping in Cyberspace in paperback and Kindle today.